Welcome everyone to tonight's school committee meeting. Tonight's meeting is being broadcast by Milford TV. If you'd like to obtain a copy of tonight's meeting, please contact one of the school committee members or a member of the administration. Tonight's first order of business is approval of minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from our May 4th regular school meeting, the May 4th executive session, the May 18th regular school meeting, and the May 18th executive session? Motion from Scott, seconded by John. All in favor? Our next order of business is announcements, correspondence, and distributions. Do any members have any announcements? Mr. McIntyre. Well, while you're waiting, I do want to announce that the girls softball team did win tonight 6-3. So very excited about that. That's a state championship, right?
No, not yet.
They're going out to the state
championship.
championship.
Yeah,
okay.
Quarterfinals right now.
All right, great.
Yeah.
But they're getting there.
And Jen?
I'll also just take a moment to compliment the Woodland School. Tim, you're out there, the band. And Strings had a wonderful, can't think of the word, concert. God, the other night, and it was, I think, the first time that we've had an elementary band in quite a while now with the move of grade 5 to Woodland. And Nadine was there supporting Jason Samiaggio. Nadine was right in there playing with the kids, and it was really, it was a great program.
Thank you. Scott?
And just actually along those same lines, certainly just congratulations, and certainly I know that actually the concert is currently in progress right now, actually starting at the Stacy Middle School is doing their spring concert. So unfortunately we're not able to join this evening, but certainly wish them well.
All right. Anyone else? You ready to rock?
Kind of. I appreciate the stalling too.
Move in
So,
for you.
two quick announcements. The first, actually three. The first one is I want to invite the public to a screening of the film Screenagers, which takes place at Woodland on June 12th, which is this coming Monday at 6:30 p.m., and the public is welcome to attend. Secondly, on June 13th at Stacy Middle School at 6:30, we have the Digital Learning and One-to-One Rollout presentation for parents. And that really just talks about all aspects of the Chromebook initiative that's happening at Stacy and for the freshmen at Milford High School. I also want to congratulate the Milford High School faculty and administration for a well-executed senior week and graduation program. I also want to wish our seniors the best of luck in their future educational and employment endeavors. And finally, the MIAA Educational Achievement Awards have been given to our boys and girls track and field for their efforts hosting the MIAA and Special Olympics Unified State Championship meet here at Milford High School. We had well over 50 kids and coaches volunteering and a huge turnout from across the region of our Special Olympians. It was a fantastic event. And secondly, the baseball team was awarded an Educational Achievement Award for their efforts in landscaping at Brookside Elementary School this year. Many of the baseball players volunteered a ton of hours to landscape the school and beautify the ground. So I want to just congratulate both the boys and girls track and field as well as the baseball team for their community service efforts.
Good. All right, thanks, Kevin. Yep. All right, the next order of business is invitation to speak. Before I invite anyone up to address the board, I just want to go over our policy that we have in place. So I'm just going to take a quick minute to read the policy. It does state that all regular and special meetings of the Milford School Committee shall be open to the public. Executive sessions will be held only as prescribed by the statutes of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. The Milford School Committee desires citizens of the district to attend its meetings so that they may become better acquainted with the operations and the programs of our local public schools. In addition, the committee would like the opportunity to hear the wishes and ideas of the public. In order that all citizens who wish to be heard before the committee have a chance, and to ensure that the ability of the committee to conduct the district's business in an orderly manner, the following rules and procedures are adopted. 1, at the start of each regularly scheduled Milford School Committee meeting, individuals or group representatives will be invited to address the committee. The chairperson shall determine the length of the public participation segment. Number 2, the speakers will be allowed 5 minutes or less to present their material. The presiding chairperson may permit extension of this time limit. Number 3, the committee will listen to but not respond to any comments made. A committee member may add an agenda item to a future meeting as a result of a citizen comment. Number 4, all remarks will be addressed through the chairperson of the meeting. And number 5, comments which concern individuals such as teachers, staff, principals, or other school department employees are not in order, as they would violate Mass General Law, Chapter 39, Section 23B, Open Meeting Law. Moreover, school department employees are not public figures and are entitled to protection from defamatory statements. Accordingly, any such comments are not allowed at a public meeting. Okay, so that's it. Just provides us with some guidelines for invitation to speak. So with that said, do I have anyone that would like to address the board? Or when we start over here on the right, and we'll work our way to the left. So when you come up, just tell us your name, and then you can make your statement.
Hello, everyone. My name is Karen Orville. I am a Milfordian and lifelong. I have 2 boys who are not of school age. I currently work in the community, and one of the biggest things is I want to thank you all for your public service. I know what kind of time and effort that requires, and I'm greatly appreciative to all of that. I come to you tonight to express my impressions and concerns of the religious holiday policy. Currently, there was a 4-2 vote against abolishing the current policy, which, as said at the meeting, was not clear to staff. A confusing policy is sometimes worse than no policy at all. When the policy was created as a result of 1 or 2 errors in human judgment, this was managed, and of course, it appeared that there was no ill intentions meant by either one of these errors. We're humans. I certainly make mistakes. As in any job, errors happen, and our bosses have to deal with that. It seems as if it was corrected, adjusted, and the ability to move on happened. Now, policy, as it intends to fix ongoing issues. So with a policy that only addresses 1 or 2 incidents, it's kind of like redoing an intersection after 1 accident. When 3 intersections down, there's an accident every single day. When the board that creates and justifies a policy has 3 different parts to this, is what I heard and reviewed on the YouTube version of the meeting last week. There is 1, the current letter of the law. That's the current policy as states. That existed. There was some debate, some discussion, some back and forth, as should any board do. The second point was that there is known confusion of the current policy. There's been issues, misinterpretations, and some real doubt in teachers' minds. I have the opportunity to be friendly with a lot of teachers in the community, and it's a very awkward line. The third thing that I really took from it was that the verbal conversation matched neither the current policy nor the discussion about edits to that policy. It seemed like there was 3 very distinct things happening. So that leaves teachers, administrators, parents with a lot of hesitation and confusion. 2 things happen from that. You get avoidance of a really unclear topic. So you dance around the issue, and thus may miss some educational opportunities. Second, you either knowingly or unknowingly find yourself in policy loopholes. Currently, the Supreme Court allows me to display in my classroom, if I were a teacher, an elf on a shelf, a dreidel, a Santa, a holiday tree. They're all secular. How is it that a board can surpass the Supreme Court judgment? It seems incredibly stifling to these teachers who are doing an incredibly fabulous job educating our youth. What a challenging job. From a variety of backgrounds, variety of socioeconomic statuses, the variety of religions, the variety of everything. You're raising these children more than the quantity of time they're in school, more than their parents once they get to school age. That being said, my 2 sons, if they're placed in a classroom with a teacher who celebrates a totally different religious celebration than mine, I'm excited. That's an opportunity for my boys to soak in that experience. That's real life. I want that teacher to provide all of that knowledge and comfort. Another example, let's say the next year, a teacher is from another country, and he or she displays the flag from their country. A great opportunity for my sons to learn something about a different culture, a different background, a different upbringing, different religious celebrations, whatever it may be, whatever that difference is, I want my kid exposed to it. are you going to make that teacher take down their flag? If it's not part of that curriculum all year long, does that allow for that flag to be maintained in that classroom all year? That goes with, if the teacher addresses the celebration of Hanukkah, if that's the celebration they honor, if they happen to not address that in the curriculum, but leave up their celebratory imagery, I feel like it's kind of a hand-in-hand comparison. The religious policy is an incredibly slippery slope. It has to be kind of an all-or-nothing thing. But life isn't like that. All or nothing does not exist. Now, the verbal conversation really didn't match the current policy, and honestly, it scared me. It was very much sounding as if every holiday would end up being analyzed, picked apart, and honestly stripped of its fun. It's so hard for a kid to be a kid. So hard. If my kid's teacher fears a policy as they educate my child, we're not supporting them. If they're conscious or even cautious of anything, they may skip over opportunity as not to offend, get themselves in trouble, fear of retribution. It's an incredibly tricky situation.
Taryn, I apologize. I'm going to have to cut you off. They were at the 5-minute mark.
Can I read my last?
Quickly, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I came here to support the system, the teachers and the students. I want to remind this board, this policy will be time-consuming, tedious, and really impinging on some issues that are already clarified and very clearly stated by the Supreme Court in the Constitution. It seems to me that there are some very serious issues of extreme priority, including a level 3 rating and the number of students that are school choicing. If you continue down this path and continue to make these restrictions, there are many people that will feel like this is not the place I want to be. I really recommend that you abolish the policy and move on to the incredibly important issues in this town. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Yeah.
Hi. I'm also here to share my opinions about the religious holiday observance and religious expression policy.
If we could just get your name.
Yes, I'm going to do that now.
All right.
Sorry, I just never done this before.
That's okay.
My name is Debbie Seri, and I've lived in Milford for about 15 years. I love the diversity and where we are, and that's why we've stayed. So I'm Jewish, my family is Jewish, and we have friends of all different ethnicities and religions. I am a parent of 2 kids, 7th grader and a 3rd grader, who go to the Milford Public Schools, and I'm also an elementary teacher, and I work in Needham. So this policy was created in order to give clarity to a very difficult topic. I think teachers need support and time to reflect on what this policy means and the change that it brings to the school. I want to give you just a brief history of my experience during the many Decembers as a parent with 2 Jewish school kids. My kids have been in classes where they were writing letters to Santa, having Christmas gift exchanges, creating Christmas tree projects, and having an elf on the shelf move around in the classroom and in the cafeteria. When we walked down the hallways, we were seeing the hallways decorated with Santas, wreaths, and reindeers. When I went to the superintendent's office last year, there was a huge Christmas tree and many colorful stockings adorned all of the desks. I felt really unsafe. I did not feel welcome. Now in 2017, going forward, we really need to celebrate the diversity and not impose religion upon the students in our secular schools. My daughter had a very negative experience with the elf on the shelf. She was the only person in the class that did not celebrate Christmas, and she felt uncomfortable, unwelcomed, and alone. We need to make every effort to be inclusive and think about our intentions before implementing holiday activities and displaying holiday symbols. Teachers can have the students share about their holiday customs and traditions and learn about what the holiday means, but there is no need to create displays or impose any kind of belief or tradition that makes any student feel uncomfortable. We need to ask ourselves, is it necessary? What is the goal? Does this enrich the understanding of the history and the cultures that we have in our schools? Will any student be made to feel like an outsider? We have amazing teachers in Milford who can think creatively and come up with wonderful inclusive themes for winter months. They can focus on giving, family, thankfulness, create a school-wide theme, do social action projects. Woodland has many different ways of saying hello hanging on the doors. That's really welcoming. This policy is a good policy that needs to celebrate the diversity of Milford. It needs to be discussed in length with the staff, and the sensitive issues need to lead to conversations to build culturally proficient schools. The First Amendment has an establishment clause that says not only does it forbid the government from establishing an official religion, but also prohibits government actions that unduly favor one religion over another. Before this policy was created, my family felt that there was not equal representation of the holidays and cultures of Milford. The schools were favoring one holiday, imposing traditions on students, which led to unintended consequences. Students should learn about the different cultures and holidays that are represented in the different schools. The Supreme Court has ruled that public school may not sponsor religious practices, but may teach about religion. The ADL, which is an Anti-Defamation League, is a national organization that defends civil rights. It takes this following stance. The First Amendment guarantees freedom of religion to all Americans by prohibiting the government from endorsing or promoting any particular religious point of view. The school must not give students the impression that one set of holidays or beliefs is more important than others. There is a difference between practicing religion and teaching about religion. There has to be an educational goal of knowledge and appreciation, but it is impermissible to endorse a specific religion. The ADL also states that it is permissible for teachers to display religious symbols as a teaching aid and can be displayed temporarily as part of a lesson. When only Christmas decorations are hanging, it is sending the message that this religion is favored by the schools. I want us to think about Halloween and how many students are not at school and are sitting in the media center while the other students are outside loving this Halloween parade. Those are the kids that are feeling excluded, and they shouldn't have to feel that way. Milford uses the PBIS program to promote respect in the schools. There is a cultural responsiveness guide that outlines a framework that embeds equity by aligning cultural responsive practices. I would like you to take a look at that. It states that PBIS is not fully implemented until it is culturally responsive, and that definition is included in the guide. It states that schools need to understand the culture of each student and be equitable for all. The guide also states that schools need to be aware of the students' cultures and values. The projection of personal cultures and values onto these environments can either engage or disengage the students and families served by the school. To increase engagement, students and staff must actively seek not only to understand their own cultural identities, but also to understand and validate the values of the students, families, and communities they serve. This document is a great tool. I hope you look at it. It gives great examples and non-examples that maybe you could use in your policy. So I hope going forward that we can work together to revise the policy to ensure that all students feel included and respected. And my goal is not to remove the symbols, but to find a way to reflect all cultures and have two of my kids who are Jewish feel really safe and happy to be here.
Thank you. Anyone else care to be heard? Mr. Baraza?
I myself have not prepared anything to the effect of the last two speakers. But I do agree with actually points on both speakers. And as you all very well know, I kind of tried to spearhead a little group to come and speak to you regarding the holiday policy. But the diversity, I think, is extremely important. But with that being said, we give off Good Friday for the Catholic holiday. We take off holidays that belong to Jewish people. So we already kind of give the diversity to everybody that's in these schools. But I think the policy has a lot of loopholes, which you both just heard both sides of the story behind me, that need to be addressed and looked at. So that was my reason for trying to spearhead a little bit of group, take the policy, let's review it and fine tune it. Everybody knows that there's a few mistakes in it both ways, so that's all I have to say, nice and simple. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Anyone else care to be heard on the topic?
Hi, Kim Honey. Like the person before me, I didn't come really prepared to speak, but similarly, I heard both sides. I'm a teacher. I'm also the parent of 2 Jewish children, but I'm also Catholic. So my thing is about the school, we have an obligation to provide a very safe, welcoming environment for these students to come to school. And certainly with the policy, as I read it, because of course my kids came home, oh my God, the decorations, we can't have it. And I was confused about the policy, but when I took time to read it, as a teacher, I found it pretty clear that yes, we can celebrate, we can decorate for the winter festivities. And as a social studies teacher, if I'm teaching about holidays, I can certainly bring in any visuals and temporary items that I would want you to get the educational value and bang for my buck. So granted, whenever you introduce something new, there's pushback, it is a change, but the Milford dynamic is changing, and we have a wider scope of cultures to embrace, and we need to make sure that we are creating a respectful community for all those students who are coming in. And unfortunately, there's not enough time in the curriculum to address every religion. So when we talk about trying to get every holiday off, that would be difficult. And addressing every holiday, that will be also difficult. So I think by maintaining a curriculum-based compare, contrast, similarities is a wonderful way to create a community of understanding, but also to be very aware of students who would be overcome or overwhelmed or uncomfortable and not want to come to school because they feel that their personal interest or they are not represented as in the building as a person. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else care to be heard? No? All right, well, thank you for coming and sharing the feedback. Obviously, it's very valuable to us as we move forward. We don't want to make decisions in a vacuum, and so it's important to get feedback from all the stakeholders involved in the process, and we really appreciate that. So our next order of business is the school improvement plans and family handbooks for Woodland and Shining Star. Tim, would you like to go first for Woodland?
Good evening, everyone. To my right, I'd like to introduce Mr. Al Spittler, for those of you who don't know Al. Al is, was our co-chair of our school council this year. And I know you all have a copy of our school improvement plan. You'll notice our school council membership is enormous, which I think also befits the size of our school. And we had a lot of parent volunteers that volunteered their time over the course of the year. And we also had quite a few leftovers from the dreaded Consigli regime that wanted to continue working on improving the school. So, I have to take a shot at him even if he's not here. So. So thank you for allowing us to present our plan. One of our goals this year in developing our school improvement plan was to make our school improvement plan a lot more streamlined and manageable. And I commented on this last year, right around this time when I was being hired, that the school improvement plan that we looked at was enormous. And there were so many phenomenal things that were happening in our schools that it was just hard to keep track of all these different things. There were all these great ideas and initiatives. So we really wanted to continue doing those things, but really in our school improvement plan, streamline it down to 3 goals or so, with some very manageable and well-articulated action steps that we could keep track of and plan for throughout the year. There's a lot of other things that are happening at Woodland School, as you can imagine, from curriculum development to some of the community outreach that we're doing with kids, to behavioral and social emotional programming. All of those things are still going to happen and continue, but for our school improvement plan, we wanted to outline just 3 targeted goals. So we identified 3 goals. The first of which is improving our school attendance and tardy rate. And very simply put, it's hard to make progress in school if you're not there. So we identified that as a challenge, in hearing from our teachers who were struggling with students who weren't consistently attending school or were arriving late. And the impact of tardiness can sometimes be just as significant to absences. In fact, sometimes tardies can impact a greater number because teachers need to stop what they're doing, welcome the child into the classroom, interrupt lessons, the student needs to get settled. It has an impact that's far greater than just on that one child. So we took a couple of data points, and as we were developing the plan, really we were at the end of February where we took a snapshot of where our attendance was. And one of the things that stood out after writing this plan was we had MCAS. And when we have MCAS testing, everyone is there, and everyone is there on time. So that tells us that people have the ability to show up to school and show up on time. And get the kids there. But we saw some real trends in our numbers that we wanted to start targeting. And we certainly want to work on improving some of our chronically absent and chronically tardy students. But 10, 15 absences, that can start to add up. Okay, that's missing 1 day every 2 weeks. And you add that up over time, and looking back over the course of a student's career, if they're out 10 to 15 times, say 20 times a year, by the time they reach 5th grade, they've missed almost a full year of school. And that's can really impact students' education. So looking at student attendance and tardiness is something that we wanted to do. So we outlined a few goals there and action steps there. And those things will be starting this summer, and reaching out to families where we see attendance trends over the past few years, and reaching out to them and saying, hey, we see that this has been a challenge for you and your child. What can we do to help you out? We know that kids get sick. As a parent, kids get sick all the time. That's what happens when you're in schools. It passes from one to the next like that. We could wipe out a whole class with a flu epidemic very quickly. So we certainly understand when kids need to be homesick. That's part of life, and that's part of building up your healthy immune system. But when kids can be in school, they should be in school. So it's educating families on the importance of regular and consistent school attendance. That's another piece, is reaching out to share information, research studies that we have. It's looking at our policies and how we can maintain something that is reasonable as an administrative team in reaching out to families. 6 days, kids being out 6 days, that's really what our policy states right now. After 6 days, we reach out to families. With 1,000 kids, staying on top of all the kids who are out 6 days within a 45-day period that's constantly shifting, that can be really challenging to do. And how do we reach out before all of a sudden, wow, it's 12, it's 15, it's 18 absences, it's 18 tardies? That's hard to do. So looking at ways that we can improve our own practices as an administrative team. And that's also something, I know that there's a school committee policy around attendance. That might be something to be looking at down the line, is how do we make that something that's more manageable for our parents to understand, our families to understand, as well as our teachers and administrators to adhere to. Okay. So that's our first goal. Al, is there anything you wanted to add to that?
Part of the thing we also talked about was translating it and making sure we translated it into the different languages to reach the different type of cultures and families, because sometimes that's where the communication barrier and the lack of information is happens. So we We talked a lot about that.
And that's a challenge for some of our families who are, especially coming from our South American countries and cultures, is they're on a different seasonal cycle. So our winter is summer down there, and they're going back for family holidays and family vacations with their families back in their home countries there. So that makes attendance a challenge as well. So it's not simply our culturally diverse families that we're looking at. That's not it at all, but that was something that we certainly did look at. Yeah. Scott?
Yeah, just a quick question for you. So
Yeah.
I appreciate all what you've gone over so far. So one quick question, because I know that some of the languages that we do have coming in, I love the idea of being able to translate it into multiple languages to make sure we can get it driven home. How are we addressing, there are some of the languages of some of the students that are coming in right now that are purely spoken languages. There is no written language.
Yeah.
How do we, and you don't need to answer this right now, just something to kind of think about, how do we start to address that? Because I love the idea of being able to reach out to them, but we have students that speak languages that it's only spoken.
Exactly, yeah. That's a conversation Jen Norjani and I have had, and I know that, as an administrative team, we've talked about that and being sensitive to that. And primarily we translate things in Portuguese and Spanish. That's the largest section of our non-English speaking families. But we have, a growing growing number of families that speak Arabic. That's certainly Vietnamese. We're seeing, some Asian languages. So reaching out to some of even the more minority languages out there. And certainly I think the spoken language only is a real challenge because we don't have many translators that are able to speak that. So in the next goal, which is the family outreach to our multilingual and culturally diverse families. So a perfect segue, Scott, thank you very much.
Read ahead.
Yeah, that's something that we're looking at this year as well. I feel like one of the goals that I had personally this year coming in is reaching out to just the greater Woodland community and hitting every family, just having them get to know me, reaching out to them and communicating with them frequently. And one of the things that we did notice, though, is that we still haven't made a real strong connection to our culturally diverse families that are speaking many different languages. We see that in attendance at different events, whether it's the second grade step-up night that we had last week, or the fifth grade Soaring to Safety night, a couple nights before that. You can see the population that are attending those school events is different from the population of kids in front of us. We can see that at parent-teacher conferences. We can see that at open house, back to school night. The families and the parents that are attending those are not the same as what we see in our lunchroom, quite frankly. So making a better effort to reach out to those families. So one of the things that we've been talking about, Scott, is actually just creating more networks and finding maybe some, for lack of a better term, cultural captains that can help reach out to some of the different communities that we have in our town, whether it's through church groups or community organizations, and just connecting to them and having them help us spread the word about what's happening at Woodland, whether it's through posting newsletters in community gathering spaces, or just making sure that families are aware of, there's an open house coming up. So that's one of the things that we're looking at. One of the things that I'm really excited about doing is this summer I'm taking a course with Jen Norjanian at Harvard in the middle of July. And we're looking at family engagement, and we're looking at different strategies of how we can engage more than just the average middle-class white English-speaking family, quite frankly. So we're looking at how we can do a better job of that. Some of the things that we did talk about is some of the logistics. We brought that up, the fact that Woodland is really the outlier of the schools, and for a lot of our families, getting to Woodland is hard if they don't have transportation. So thinking about whether it's the community bus service or offering some transportation from a central location up to Woodland for community events like open house or parent-teacher conferences. It's thinking about other things such as babysitting or just childcare when we have those events, because we have a lot of families that are they're working second shift, they're working double shifts, they're working at night, and having those families have the ability to get up there and have their kids cared for. So thinking about ways that we can do that at different family events. So Anything else I missed out?
No, I think we
Okay.
covered that one.
Any questions on our second goal? Okay. And finally, our third goal is around continuing our integration of technology into teaching and learning. As I mentioned in kind of my the current status rationale, I can kind of give you a snapshot of where we're at this year with technology. And this year we took a very much hands-off approach in our approach to technology. We're surrounded by it. Woodland is, as you know full well, it's a state-of-the-art building with fabulous opportunities for teachers and students to be immersed in technology. And we very much kept a hands-off approach in letting teachers and students kind of explore that organically and sharing best practices between each other, and having teachers with, the expectation is at the beginning of the year, wherever you're at now, just be a little bit better by the end of the year. And I kept it very open-ended and broad like that. And I've seen teachers embrace the technology, students embracing the technology, because there's no pressure of, I have to reach this certain goal, or I have to do this many lessons, or I have to incorporate it in this way. It was learn at your own pace, immerse yourself at your own pace, where you're comfortable. And teachers have really embraced that. So our next step is to start to increase the rigor and accountability of how we're immersing technology in teaching and learning. So that's looking at things like Google Classroom, and having teachers just manage the workflow of the classroom through Google Classroom. It's also about looking at things like having a digital hub for all of our teachers, so that all of the administrative and professional workflow is happening through Google Docs, so that they're sharing curriculum, they're sharing lesson plans. They can find meeting agendas and meeting notes. It's right there, and it's accessible to them at all times. So it's starting to immerse teachers and students a little bit more, and increasing the expectations and the accountability just a step above where we're at this year, going forward next year.
Yeah, and like Tim said, the teachers that were on the committee, that was one of the biggest things, that they appreciated him not putting all that pressure on to do everything. We're in a own pace this year and just get to that point, and it seemed to work.
We had a number, I think Woodland was exceptionally well represented at our Techapalooza event that Dr. Joseph back there helped organize back in March. We had a great turnout there. We had teachers that volunteered to go to Google for Educators training and get certifications. We've got a number of teachers that are taking technology integration courses and looking at ways that they can incorporate that into their teaching and learning. They're just, they're just taking off with it. And we could see that. I could see the excitement starting last summer when, we put laptops in their hands and we said, this is coming. And, there was 30 teachers giving up, multiple days of their summer at a clip just to learn new things that Matt and our tech staff was teaching them. They've just embraced it. They were thirsting for it. We put it in their hands, and they're taking off with it.
And the students enjoy it. I have a third grader, and they seem to, they enjoy the whole.
So they embrace it so much easier, and their anxiety is non-existent compared to the teachers. I mean, we saw that with the computer-based testing. The teachers were on high alert, and exactly as we expected it. The kids were like, "What's the big deal? I don't get it. No problem," and they just rolled with it. I mean, the teachers were like, "I need the manual. I need the printout," because they were just so nervous about it going wrong and the kids not being prepared. And the kids just, it was like nothing to them. It didn't faze them in the least. It was like any other day. Yeah.
All right, so any questions or comments on the improvement plan? So the only thing I will say, we're seeing a nice trend here with these plans. I like the way you've laid it out, where you have a very clear goal. You outline all the strategies that you're going to take to get there. You have a benchmark to measure success, and then you also include some information on any investment that might be required. So very similar to what Nancy had provided, I think, at the last meeting. So I like this approach. If we could find some consistency there.
That's where we're going in a streamlined direction.
I love it. Good stuff. All right.
Just real quick, yeah. So, Thank you guys for coming in, as always. I know that, as we've talked about in previous meetings, that the most fun part of your job is not always coming and presenting in front of the school committee.
we don't mind
And
at
I
all.
know the same for parents, but we do appreciate you guys coming in. It's important. You know, again, I'll just, as I've said with each one, I want to make sure I'm consistent as well as the question is going to be, how are we going to know that the improvement plan is actually improving? Right, so what are we going to continue to use as benchmarks? What are we as a school committee going to use from a report card perspective? Now the DESC thankfully gives us one, and how will we continue to measure that as we continue to go forward? And I'm not looking for you guys to answer those questions right now,
Understood.
just as we continue to think about it with each of these coming forward here.
And the company line, Tim, is we're gonna develop that process at this summer retreat.
Okay. Got it.
We get to have this conversation 7 times, so
Understood. Yeah.
this is just your turn.
Yep.
Jen?
I just wanted also to thank you for, obviously it's been a big year, and you could have focused on 1,000 things and times 10 in this plan. And I think that you really did highlight on some of the critical things. And when we talk about our high school and we talk about moving students forward, it's not just a high school question or issue. It's a pre-K through 12, and we have pre-K and 12 out there tonight. But students have to be there, to your point, and we have to find ways to help our students. And when you're a parent who does go to these things, and my husband says all the time, every time we go to an event, I see the same people at the events. And from the parent perspective, you don't always sit and think about how that compares to who is sitting in your classrooms and in your cafeteria. And if those families aren't made aware and supported, it's really hard to feel included. And I'm sure it's really daunting to think about how to help your student. I think the only thing that I would consider thinking about is a lot of these things, and you've done a tremendous job as communicating as the school principal. I think one of the challenges as a principal is to think about how you help your staff communicate with parents, all parents on a regular basis, not just those for whom English is a second language. So I think, any work that can also be done about encouraging teachers to celebrate what's happening in the classrooms and with curriculum to the home front would be really a great move also.
Yeah. So to that point, Jen, this being, as you know, as a school principal yourself, at the end of the year, it's teacher evaluation time.
Right.
And that has actually been one of the feedback points that I've been discussing with a lot of different teachers. And some teachers have their systems that work really, really well, and others are trying to find their what is going to be the way that that they utilize to communicate with families, whether it's newsletter, blog, class dojo. I'm sure you know about that. There's a lot of different ways that teachers communicate with families, and trying to share some of those best practices or successful practices among our staff. So me kind of being like the central point of, hey, I know that this teacher uses this method for communicating with parents. Maybe that's something that you might want to try next year. Or let me put you in touch with this person who it's working really well for. So trying to share some of those best practices with teaching staff is part of the conversations at the end of the year when we're talking about evidence and evaluation and things like that. So that's absolutely something that I've been doing. Yeah,
that's great. And the way you're modeling it it's really superior. I mean, the types of communication that we get has been amazing. So thank you.
Appreciate that.
Any other questions or comments?
If I could just say one thing real quick.
Sure.
Chuck.
Oh, wow.
Thanks for that enthusiastic response. It's kind of funny because this was Tim's original office when he started in July. So he was in here with Chris Sang and a couple other people, and people were coming in and out sporadically. And to kind of see where, throughout the construction process, you're always cautiously optimistic that we're going to open on the first day, but you never know. And to see the school come together and the culture work, the adaptive work that Tim and his team has done has been spectacular this year. And I just really want to, it's a huge task to come in as a new principal, open a completely new building, merge 2 faculties, roll out the first one-to-one in the history of the Milford Public Schools, and still be kind of smiling at the end of the year. I think it's a fantastic accomplishment. So I just wanted to commend Tim for that.
Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, so do I have a motion to approve the school improvement plan for Woodland? Motion from Mike, seconded by Jim. All in favor? All right, so now we have the handbook.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll go right into that? Okay, sure. So our Woodland School handbook, there's really no significant changes. There's a few minor word changes here and there, but there was nothing substantially changed. Obviously, there's still quite a bit in our handbook that will change over the course of the summer as we finalize staffing and hiring and things like that. So there's going to be some changes there. But there's really no significant changes to our handbook. A lot of it is, as you know, either transportation policy or coming from the transportation department. It's school committee policies, things like that. You know, the one place where we're still kind of holding out just a little bit is under the homework section. And so I've kind of put a placeholder there because, you know, Mr. Consigli has been talking, you know, with us throughout the district about developing kind of a homework policy and what that's, or homework philosophy more than policy, and what that might look like. So we're still kind of holding off on that because we didn't want to get too far ahead of where the district is going, because that's something that I know he is, you know, presently organizing right now is getting a group together. So there's really just a placeholder for the homework section that's been kind of trimmed down, just so that if there's not a philosophy that's put in place by the beginning of school next year, that there is still some language around homework, knowing that that's something that we're actively engaged in conversation as a district. But other than that, there's really no major substantial changes. It's just a wording piece here or there. As you know, I think a lot of the handbook came into play after school started, because some of these are changes to things like arrival and dismissal procedures, things like that we had a plan going into it, and then it was kind of, let's see how this works, and then tweak it here or there. And for the most part, we've kind of landed on something that's pretty cut and dry within our handbook. So I don't have anything really substantial to highlight, but I'm happy to take any questions or hear your thoughts on the handbook as it stands. So.
Does anyone? Yeah,
Joe. Tim, great job as always.
Thank you.
With the homework philosophy, where are you guys at right now in getting this together? I mean, if you don't have much, I understand. But if you guys have started working on something, I know Craig's not here. I don't know if you want to speak to it.
We haven't gotten
Okay.
very far as
Okay.
far as I've certainly had conversations with Craig.
Yep.
Just on a personal level of where we stand, and I've talked a little bit to the Woodland faculty about my personal belief system around homework, and where we're standing as a faculty right now is assigning homework as they see fit.
Okay.
But I think, at least from the faculty's point of view, and it's not going to be a secret to my faculty, that how I feel about homework, which is I would like to de-emphasize homework as a part of the school experience for students, especially at the elementary level.
Okay.
So we're shifting in that direction, I think. Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot of teachers who agree with me and some who very vigorously disagree with me, and we're having those conversations.
No, that's great. Like I said, I know Craig's not here. I just wanted to see where you guys started to kick off.
Yeah. I think Craig is just putting the organization together right now, putting the committee together now.
Thank you, Tim.
Yeah.
Any other questions regarding the handbook? Do I have a motion to approve the handbook? Motion from Scott, seconded by Joe. All in favor? All right. Thank you very much.
Once we get things finalized with staffing, do I need to bring it back at that point, or is that no? That's okay. Okay. Thank you all. I appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Shining Star. How you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Very good.
This is Sarah Humiston.
Hi, Sarah.
She is the co-chair of the Shining Star School Council, and she is also the director of the Milford Family and Community Network, and she agreed to join me tonight. So before I present the school improvement plan, I just wanted to publicly thank all of the classroom teachers and the specialists who do such a great job down at Shining Star. Their dedication and hard work should be noted, so I just wanted to publicly thank them this year. And I also wanted to point out that there's approximately 2,000 days between the day children are born and the day they go to kindergarten. So providing a solid early childhood education is paramount to a child's future academic success. So before I get into the handbook, you should have either a color copy or on your computer. It is color-coded. So in order for me to be able to get a better grasp of it this year and to kind of facilitate the discussion during our school council meetings, I wanted to kind of make it a little bit easier to make some accomplishments. So all of the texts that are in green were areas that were listed on the school improvement plan as new initiatives the previous year. And those are things that we accomplished down at Shining Star. The text that is in blue are areas that were listed the previous year, and we're still currently working on those. And the text that is in red are the new initiatives. So I'm not going to go over all of the new initiatives. I just wanted to highlight some of the ones that were most salient during our discussions at the school council. So the first one is Standard 1, Curriculum Planning and Assessment, and that's on page 8. And I wanted to go over Objective 4. Shining Star will continue to implement best practices for early childhood. And there's 2 initiatives that I would like to highlight. The first one is we started a new initiative this year of a professional learning community down at the preschool. It was focused on the DCAP that the rest of the schools already embrace, but it really didn't meet the needs of the preschoolers. So, you know, it's something that we wanted to adopt, but we wanted to make it work. So the classroom teachers, all of them agreed to give up their preps, and we met once a month, sometimes twice a month, and we kind of ripped the DCAP apart and made it work for the preschool. So, you know, we were able to work collaboratively, and the biggest focus for us was strengthening that Tier 1 intervention. You know, that worked out really well for us. So during those PLCs, we created a timeline and a time frame of Tier 1 interventions due to the various sessions that we have down there to accommodate the kids that come 5 days, 2 days, 3 days. We also created a timeline and a checklist for the preschool teachers to reference when they had a question about a child they were bringing forward to DCAP. And we began some preliminary work on identifying developmentally appropriate Tier 1 interventions. And when we come back in the fall, that's going to be the focus of the PLC when we start that up again. So the second initiative under Standard 1 is it's a 40-hour registered behavior technician course that all of the classroom teachers and the specialists will participate in next year at Shining Star. And you know, the reasoning behind this course is to strengthen the Tier 1 interventions in the classroom. It gets a little bit tricky because it is pre-academic, and a lot of the interventions that are listed in the district DCAP don't really work for the preschool. So this course is, you know, the purpose of the training is to provide a comprehensive overview of best practices for early childhood, and it's related to servicing children with autism and relative communication disorders, as well as students who exhibit behavioral challenges. And the training serves as a fundamental and thorough behavior-based course to all of the students at Shining Star. Any questions so far? Nope. Okay.
Nope.
So the last one that I wanted to go over was Standard 3, and that's listed on page 9. It's the family and community engagement. And in an attempt to strengthen the family engagement down at Shining Star, it's important to have a collaborative relationship where the ideas are coming primarily from the families based on their needs and their wants, rather than having more of a family involvement focus where, you know, involvement would come with ideas from Shining Star. We want to have more of an engagement and have more opportunities for families to come in and engage and have some, you know, have some say on what they feel the direction that Shining Star needs to go in. So we have a couple of options for them so far. We have a there was talk about creating a parent cafe where families and community members can come in and share their thoughts. We also, on Back to School Night in August, I want to distribute a needs assessment to get some insight on families' interests. And the last one is to work collaboratively with Sarah on reinstating the kindergarten school readiness committee that was in place beforehand, but went away, how many years ago?
Just, this would be our third, going into our third.
That's been gone?
Yes.
Okay. So we want to bring that back and work with the lower elementary school principals and work with Sarah, of course, and the local preschools and kind of come together so we can streamline curriculum and look at transitions from preschool into kindergarten to make sure that all of the future kindergarten students have solid pre-academic skills getting ready to go into kindergarten. So it's not just the Shining Star kids, it's all the future kindergarten kids in Milford. Did you have anything to add to that? That's about it.
All right, any questions or comments regarding Shining Star? Scott?
You know, so welcome, and this is your first
Thank
one,
you.
I know, so, thank you for going over it, and good congratulations on your, just about to complete your first year here, in this role, so, just thank you for that, and I know, again, as you kind of think about, I like the idea of sort of coordinating between all the different preschools, and you may or may not know this up front, but as you're starting to go through all of that, are you noting significant gaps, and are we also leveraging that to sort of take learnings from other preschools as well that may be on the maybe private preschools that are out there as well, and sort of potentially even taking some best practices? I realize our curriculum maybe is going to be a little bit more prescriptive than some others. But is that part of that process as well that you're looking into as well?
So we currently do that now with Sarah's group. We have an early childhood council that we meet, how is it bi-monthly, 4 times? So it's with the area preschools and some other agencies. And we do talk about a number of things. Curriculum is a little bit of the discussion. But as you said, it was my first year, and I was involved in the group, but I wasn't as involved. So hopefully next year, with reinstating the kindergarten readiness group, we'll be able to tackle the challenges of curriculum, because there is a disparity between the other preschools and Shining Star and heading into kindergarten, because it's not so curriculum driven.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely seen, just in hearing from parents, and there's maybe some preschools out there that's, the impression is almost it's effectively a babysitting service versus some that it's a very, very structured environment. There's a lot of educational learning that's going on there, and kind of helping to, sort of level set the students, knowing that, September, late August of this year, and just a short few months, they're all going to be kindergartners. So, okay, good.
Can I just address one thing?
Yeah.
So just to let you know, most of the licensed daycare providers in the state of Massachusetts do follow a curriculum. They have to get their license, and it is in alignment with the standards, the Mass standards. And also some of the preschools who are NACE accredited, as well as Shining Star Preschool, again. So I think it's fair to say most of the licensed programs really follow a rigorous curriculum and are in line with what we're doing. Some of them use different reading programs, math programs. So we're hoping if we bring back the School Readiness Committee, we'll be able to take a look at those things and maybe find some commonality or things that we can share, and sharing of resources together as well. I think more of the unlicensed is where we're seeing some more of these things, because when you become a licensed program, you're visited. You have to send in your portfolio, you have to do those type of things, so just to let you know that.
And then I know in the past, so we still have part-time as well as, so with morning and afternoon, we've got part-time as well as the quote-unquote full-time version. Are you seeing, I know in the past there's been variations in need, variations in asks for what the enrollment looks like. Are you still seeing, when we've spoken with Lucy in the past, there's some disparity that kind of goes along there? Is there a need for, or an opportunity for adjusting times, adjusting schedules? What are you seeing from an enrollment perspective?
So prior to registration, I sent out a needs assessment to the families and to the current families of Shining Star and to families within the community. They were available in Sarah's office and at the in Lisa Byer's office to kind of get a feel to see what families wanted for programming. We have some sessions that are very popular, and then we have sessions that are harder to fill. So all of the options this year came from the families. So I think that's a step in the right direction. But there was talk about, there is a need in the community due to the change in, family dynamics. There are two families that are working, both parents are working. So there was some discussion about a before school or after school type program, and that's something that we want to get a little bit more information on and have another discussion this upcoming school year regarding that. But there's different facets that come into play with that. So yeah, we do. The trend in the enrollment has pretty much stayed the same. I looked at the numbers for the past 5 years. I was starting to get a little nervous because we weren't getting a lot of registrations in, but it was just timing because we're pretty much full. We have a couple of slots left, but we're pretty much full. So the numbers are steady. So we're not declining and we're not bursting at the seams. So that's good news.
Okay. And are all your sessions full for the year we're finishing up in 10 days?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Great. Thank you.
I like the point that you said that preschool is not babysitting. It's not babysitting, and that's the biggest point that I hope the public can take away from this, is that it's not babysitting. It's so important. Early childhood is so important.
Mm-hmm. Mike, were you gonna say something? Good. To that point, Corey, I really want to kind of congratulate you on putting a real focus on instruction in the classroom. Your first year in the role of director of the preschool, and I've seen, just a lot of great things happening across the classrooms at Shining Star. Every time we visit down there, there's a real, whether it's science activities or literacy or mathematics, they're engaging in, kind of pretty heavy duty academic work at the preschool level, which I think is awesome. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions or comments on the improvement plan? Do I have a motion to approve the improvement plan for Shining Star? Motion from Jen, seconded by Jim. All in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.
And do we need to do the handbook as well? Yeah.
Nice try, Sarah.
Almost, Sarah, almost.
No, not yet.
There were very minimal changes, staff changes with naming. The schedule on page 8 changed to reflect the new sessions that we're offering next year. And one of the biggest change in the handbook is the location of the lining up for fire drills. So in the past, they were lining up right outside the playground area. They weren't inside the fence. They were outside, lined up right there, and the fire trucks were like right there. In my first day, I was like, ooh, what is going on here? So we now have everybody located over in the second playground. There is a gate there, and there's lines there where the classes line up, according to their class, and everybody is contained. Because we do have some young 3-year-olds that like to run, so having them in one long line outside, the playground was not working. So now everybody's nice and orderly in their lines, and everybody's safe, and it's working out well. So that's the biggest change in the handbook.
Okay. Any questions or comments on the handbook?
Real quick, nothing on the handbook, but I just want to say thank you. My daughter, who will be done this year from Shining Star, absolutely loves it, and me and my wife couldn't be happier of how things have worked. I mean, my daughter comes home every day with these like little projects or whatever it may be, and I'm just amazed by how well everything works. And for me and my wife, thank you to you and your staff that have just done,
She has a great teacher.
An amazing job down there. I couldn't have been happier. So thank you.
Thank you. I'll tell
She
the
was
teacher.
super excited to go to Memorial today too, and get on a bus and everything.
Yep.
So.
Your wife got some good pictures.
So thank you again very much.
You're welcome.
All right, do we have a motion to approve the handbook? Motion from Scott, seconded by John. All in favor? All right. Thank you, Corey. Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you.
All right. Our next agenda item is the introduction of our new Milford High School principal. Welcome, Josh.
Good evening.
All right. So, Kevin, do you want to?
Yeah, so I I'm really excited that Josh is sitting in that seat right there. We went through a very rigorous process that started with 53, very qualified applicants. And the striking thing about Josh is at every phase of the process, whether it was the screening committee, the initial interview, to the last round, he was overwhelmingly the choice of the teachers, parents, students. And he was impressive at every phase of the process. And I'm really excited to bring him on because he has, I think, a real passion for the work. I think a passion for the Milford community. And, he brings an enthusiasm, energy, and intelligence. And I'm kind of a data guy, and I bow at his feet because he's a data wizard. So I'm really, and that's an official pedagogical term, Jen, look it up.
Right.
So I'm thrilled to have him on board. I couldn't be happier that he's joining us as the next Milford High School principal. And I'm going to let him talk about his background and kind of what he's done so far. But he spent the day today in Milford, met a lot of the teachers, some of the department heads, spent a little time with me and Craig, and I think he's just hitting the ground running.
Thank you very much, Kevin, and thank you to the committee for having me here tonight. I am thrilled to be on board and really excited to transition here on a full-time basis. It's been very exciting to start working here partially and to spend the full day here today to really deepen my understanding of the systems in place at the school, to continue to uncover exciting things that are going on, and to really start to wrap my head around the work to be done. I've been very, very impressed with the team that I've met so far, and that goes really across the board. I had a chance to spend time with administrators, with classroom teachers, with staff members, and I've received a wonderful welcome and nothing but sort of positivity across the board. Just in terms of my background, for those of you with whom I've not yet had a chance to meet, as many people know, I am a graduate of Milford High School. I attended Milford Public Schools from kindergarten all the way through graduation and graduated in 1996. Immediately after finishing my undergraduate degree at Middlebury College, I started teaching as a high school social studies teacher. I've been in the business for 17 years. I've worked for the last 8 years as an assistant principal at Hudson High School, and at this stage, I'm really excited to take my work back home to Milford, to contribute and to give back to this community that has given so much to me. And I'm really looking forward to working with all of you on the committee and all the families out there at home, moving forward to make this great school even better going forward.
Great, thanks, Josh. So I'm going to open up to the committee. Any questions for Josh?
Congratulations, Josh. I was impressed with what you had to bring to the table as well, so good luck. Wish you the best.
Thank you.
I'd like to say welcome. You and I have had some conversation in the past, but everybody that I've spoken to about you says that you're very talented, you're deeply committed to education, so congratulations and welcome.
Thank you.
Jim?
I just want to say congratulations. I mean, it was no secret you were my favorite from the beginning, and I'll say that on camera. It's okay. I was very impressed. As I said last time, you really kind of had me at the data points, and I look forward to seeing more of that in the future.
You will.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Scott?
So, congratulations, Josh. Good to see you. Yeah, very, very similar. Had an opportunity to actually sit along with Jim and with Jen as part of the interview process, and I think we said actually in the meeting immediately following that, it really was. It was an amazing candidate pool. I mean, and you did not get this job easily. There was an unbelievable candidate pool. I think we spent a grand total just in the interview group. We spent a grand total of 10 hours of active interviewing and then additional deliberation time over the course of 2 days. It was very evident to me when you came in and you interviewed, even in comparing to the entire group that we interviewed. In my opinion, it was a very obvious choice. There were many candidates that came in, and everybody, when they left, the candidates left the room, and you know how it is with interviews. You've hired teachers before, and you look at the group and you go, well, what did you think? And everybody goes, oh, I thought this person was good, and I like this, and I like that. You were the one candidate, and I'll share this with you very openly and honestly, that after you walked out of the room, every single person in the room looked around and went, wow. It really, and I'm not boosting up your ego. I'm being
think you
very,
might
very
be.
open.
Yeah.
I'm being very open. I'm not saying it to boost up your ego. I'm letting you know the very open and honest feedback that we didn't get a chance to share with you at the time. It literally, you were the only candidate that walked out of the room, and every single person from student to school committee member to parent and administrator went, wow.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
now, so that's the make you feel good part. Now the hard part works. So now all that's left is all the work, right? So you've got a lot to get your arms wrapped around. The good news is you know your way around the building. That's the good news. You got a lot to get your arms wrapped around. You've got a lot. You've got some good sized shoes to fill with Kerry.
Indeed.
You've got a long-standing tradition that I know you're extremely aware of, and I know that you're up to the task, and know that we are here to support you and to help you in every step of the way. As I know the rest of the administration is, and really looking forward to absolutely nothing but amazing success for you. So congratulations.
Thank you, and thank you for for all the encouragement. I need it, and I appreciate it. With regards to the process, one thing that I think I've shared with Kevin and Craig is from my standpoint as a participant, it was a very thorough, rigorous, and challenging process, and it said a lot to me about this system. That there was so many people investing so much time and energy in getting this right. For me, as someone who is considering whether or not this was the right match for me, it was very clear to me from the outset that this is not just sort of an administrative team, but a community that is highly invested in the process of school improvement. And I couldn't ask for anything better than that. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Josh.
Any other
Thank you. Congratulations.
questions for Scott?
Josh.
Oh, sorry, Scott.
I've got a couple
So
questions
used to
for
referring to
Scott.
Scott.
There's made a lot of questions for me.
Scott.
But.
So Josh, as Scott pointed out, you do have some big shoes to fill here. It was very evident over the course of senior week and all the graduation ceremonies that Carrie was very loved and very appreciated by our students and by our faculty. But the feedback that I've gotten about you from the community has been overwhelmingly positive as well. I know from the people that I've spoken to that you certainly have the skill set to be very successful here going forward. So welcome to the team. We look forward to working with you and seeing what you can do to help move us forward. Thank you. And actually, well, I guess we can let you go. It's more a question for Kevin. But so you mentioned the rigorous process earlier. Can you just take a little bit of time talking about that process? Because
Sure.
it was a process that was extremely transparent and very inclusive, and I just want to remind the community what.
Yeah, I can walk you through step by step. So we advertised the position at School Spring, but we also reached out to all of the educational associations in Massachusetts. And I reached out to a couple national networks that I'm a part of. So that would be the Massachusetts Association of School Superintendents, the Secondary Principals Association, as well as a number of national, principal and superintendent groups and social media sites. And we received 53 applicants, which is actually a good number of applicants. It's more than double a number of local searches here in terms of the number of applicants we received. We had a screening committee made up of approximately 20 teachers and administrators that reduced the applicants from 53 to 12. So we had 12 semifinalists that interviewed with two groups. One group was made up of teachers, administrators, and department heads. The other committee was made up of parents, students, and either myself or Craig. We shifted nights in terms of chairing the committee, so we got feedback from both groups. So each member went on 2 one-hour interviews. After that, we took the feedback from those committees and the screening committee, and were able to narrow it down to 3 finalists. The 3 finalists spent the day at Milford High School, visiting classrooms, meeting with teachers, meeting with students, sitting down with our administrative team for mini interviews, and also interviewed with myself and Assistant Superintendent Craig Consigli. In the evening, when it was kind of a marathon day for you guys, in the evening, you had 3 forums, and one forum was community members, so it's family, students, and community members. A second forum was made up of faculty, and a third forum was made up of administrators and school committee. So there was probably 150 to 200 people involved in the process that provided feedback that represented kind of a broad group of stakeholders, from students to parents to teachers. Did I say teachers?
Not yet.
teachers and administrators. So we really got a broad picture, and everybody was able to provide feedback at every step of the process. And based on all of that information and the individual qualities and background, we made I think the right selection in selecting Josh Ottman as the next principal of Milford High School.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Josh.
Thanks, Josh.
Thank you, Josh.
Joe, if I may.
Yeah.
I'd like to just take a minute and commend Kevin, the administration and the faculty, because you look at the major change this district took on this year. And here we are at the end of the year, school's almost ready to close, and you look at what was done and what was accomplished without any real concerns or problems. That's amazing. I just want to say, thank you to Kevin, you, the faculty, your administration, great job. Great job.
Thank you, I appreciate it. And it's a team, it's a complete team effort.
It is a team effort, yeah.
Everybody pitching in and rolling their sleeves up, and that's why it's working.
All right, next agenda item is a report of Assistant Superintendent for Business and Human Resources.
I have for the committee, the first warrant for approval is in the amount of $5,112.28.
Do I have a motion? Motion from Joe, seconded by Jen. All in favor?
The second warrant is in the amount of $6,582.95.
Motion from Jim, seconded by Mike. All in favor?
The third warrant is in the amount of $13,132.40.
Motion from John, seconded by Scott. All in favor?
The next warrant is in the amount of $17,237.37.
Motion from Jen, seconded by Jim. All in favor?
The next warrant is in the amount of $310,227.84.
Motion from Mike, seconded by Joe. All in favor?
The next warrant is in the amount of $159,504.74.
Motion from Scott, seconded by John. All in favor?
The next warrant is $29,326.78.
Motion by Jim, seconded by Mike. All in favor?
The next warrant is in the amount of $29,300.07.
Motion by Joe, seconded by Jen. All in favor?
And the last warrant is in the amount of $226,289.30.
Motion by Mike, seconded by Scott. All in favor?
The committee has a request of course reimbursement in the amount of $16,912.80.
Motion to approve the request. Motion by Jen, seconded by Jim. All in favor?
There is a list of all the appointments and hires from our previous meeting for your review. We also have an out-of-state travel request for the 2017-18 school year from Dr. Corey Masterson. And she would like to travel in November, the 17th through the 18th, to attend the National Association for Young Children to Atlanta, Georgia.
Motion from Scott, seconded by Joe. All in favor?
You're on your way.
And there are gifts.
I love gifts.
Couple gifts.
Yeah, there are gifts.
You gonna make them read names? I love it when they do that.
Did a lot of shopping, Mrs. Perry.
Time of year.
Gotta spend it.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I got it. So the first gift we have is for $50 from the Big Y supermarkets, and this is a gift of $50 to the 8th grade students at Stacy Middle School to be used to purchase items for Heritage Week.
Correct.
Motion from Jen, seconded by Jim. All in favor? Very generous donation. Thank you to the Big Y. And then the next one is from Whole Foods Market for $173. And that
I believe it was a
for-
gift in kind for Heritage Week,
Okay,
for food.
yeah. So do we have a motion to approve that gift? Motion from Scott, seconded by John. All in favor? Again, very generous gift from Whole Foods Market. Thank you very much. Is that it, Kathy?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. All right, digital citizenship and security.
All right, so you have a few
handouts, a packet of information that I want to go through. I know we want to be brief and get to kind of the point as quickly as possible, but at the same point I want to make sure you have all the information, because I've been coming up and talking with the committee a lot over the last year, and in the last 2 weeks we were just approved to continue our digital learning initiative moving forward for our 6th through 9th grade students, and wanted to bring information to the committee to show what we've been doing. And during that time from, well, intended to be the Monday night vote, but at 1 o'clock we went to Wednesday. So from that day, from the approval moving forward, I wanted to share some of the things that we've been working on. And it's just really exciting. And I've loved coming in front of the group and loved sharing all the information, because the time for possibility and opportunity for our students is now. And it's great that we're on that path and moving systematically. One of the things that when I started was asked of me is to create some efficiency and long-term planning within the department, within the schools, and I wanted to share some of that as well. And if you look at the first page, the second slide down, I sat here in September and went over our technology plan. And at that time, it was written in isolation and just kind of a hope that we can make this happen. But as you look at goal 1, our infrastructure will be fully completed and updated by the start of next school year. All schools will be wireless. The second goal was really looking at ensuring we had an environment for digital learning, and now our students are going to have the tools that they need, and the professional development from our teachers, which is goal 4, has really been put into place. And our third goal, as we looked at it, was creating an opportunity for students to learn those skills. So it's just exciting to be here less than a year later to say we're on the way. And as we flip through, so I'm going to go through the presentation one, and I tinkered with the idea of, again, putting it on the screen and go through. But one of the things that I've heard the last few weeks, you're giving the kids computers. When are they going to talk to each other? It's about learning. It's not about a thing. It's not about technology. And when you don't need it, we don't have to use it. And for tonight, we didn't need a big presentation. I just wanted to have a conversation with you. And that's going to be the model of what we do with our teachers as well. Just because the students have them doesn't mean they have to be used 24/7. It's just like any other educational tool. Use it when it's appropriate, but it's about having the opportunities to use it. So I'm going to go through the presentation with you. So as I said, September launched our vision, goals moving forward, and we are on the right track here in Milford. We are taking those steps. But if you stand still, as it says here, it's not going to work. And we don't want to stand still. We want to keep moving forward. So people have asked me, why are we going one-to-one in Milford? Why is this something we need to do? And this is a big shift. It went from a year ago today, no student devices, to we are in the process of having 2,400 student devices by mid-July. And that is a huge shift. But what that allows us to do, as I said before, as you read through some of this, it gives organizational opportunities for students. It gives them the opportunity to the resources that is out there. It gives authentic learning experiences and really makes it possible to personalize learning for our teachers. So there's many, many benefits, and I know you've heard a lot of what we talked about, but I wanted to make sure we shared a lot of that as well. One of the things that you heard with Tim and I shared with our goal 4 is we are ongoing giving professional development for our staff. Because we do not want to just say, here you go, good luck, and hope it works. I'm not in the business of hope. I want to make it happen. And we have multiple opportunities, from summer workshops to staff meetings. I've attended many staff meetings, gone into classrooms with Steve and Sarah and many other teacher leaders to show how to use these tools. We've had after-school opportunities. Just last week, I had a teacher in 8th grade say, can I start doing some professional development for the staff for the last few weeks of the year so that our Stacy teachers can be ready for next year? Of course, and it's been great to see that enthusiasm build. So what you're going to see at the bottom of page 3 is that having the opportunity now will allow our teachers to personalize learning. Students will have accessibility, will be able to create blended learning opportunities, which is a combination of utilizing the online tools, websites, resources with the face-to-face discussions and the authentic debates. And with that, though, creates a challenge. So I'm going to stop on page 4 for a little bit, because I'm also understanding that there is a concern that we are now opening up a door for students, and we want to make sure that it's safe. I sat here a year ago when I was appointed and said, when I was a principal for 11 years, I had two things to do: make sure the kids were safe and make sure that they're learning. So that doesn't change. So in this process, we want to make sure the kids were learning. We kind of touched on that. We also want to make sure they're safe. Digitally safe is something that we have to continually look at. And we are moving forward with 2 vendors that I believe will create a very safe environment. So as you know, we are moving forward with Chromebooks, which is Google environment. We have a Milford domain, which is the Milford MA account. So all of our students are in that. So the 2 that I want to share with you tonight, Go Guardian is a device that tracks our Chromebooks themselves. Where are they? What sites do they hit? Who logs into them? Because they're a Google domain and they work directly with them. It has safe searching. It does our YouTube filtering. Theft recovery, we saw this at Stacy. Not that anyone stole anything, but 4 of them with the MCAS testing, multiple Chromebooks were being shared and all over the building, and 4 of them we could not find. We put the asset tag number in, we got the ID, and we found them just in a different room in a different cart. And that was all through our networking. So one of the tools that we currently have, and now we're boosting it up a little bit more because of our need, is Go Guardian tool. The second is a vendor that I met and vetted and saw that in action, as well as having them come and give a demo, is Gaggle. So Go Guardian focuses on device specific, the Chromebook. What Gaggle does is focus on the domain. So anything that is typed, anything that is emailed if students email, anything that could be a red flag, marijuana. We'll get a notice to say if there's a concern or if there's cyberbullying. I know we talked about that earlier in a separate meeting. That what this product really impressed me is it's not only digital looking at some concerns, it has live readers. So if a student writes something in a digital form in, say, Google Docs and does a report on medical marijuana, they're going to get a hit. They're going to get a live reader to read it and say this is inappropriate, and we won't need to be notified. Now you can insert any of the ways that shouldn't be used. The live reader would read it and then contact a point of contact. So I'm in the process of it now, setting up point of contacts for our building principals if there is anything that's concerning. It's also with emails. So if students send an email that shouldn't be sent, it won't go through. If it has any of the flagged words, and to take it even further, the student will get an email back. If they use profanity and it was intended to either a teacher or a student, the email will not go through. And the student will get an email from Gaggle saying, this is an appropriate email to send, please don't send it. So I can get into much, much more specifics, but I wanted to give you the opportunity to look it over quickly, have time to take it away, and I'd love to come back if you want more information on it. But the big piece for me tonight is to share that I don't take this lightly, and this is important. And I know Scott has a question.
Yeah. Go ahead, Scott.
Thank you. So just with this, I appreciate the feedback on this and some of the information. 2 things. You mentioned that it intercepts an email that may have inappropriate language in it.
Yes.
Does it do that with other things such as flagged words, things of that nature? Does it intercept the email for the readers to digest it first before it gets sent? Or does it still get sent through and it's an opportunity to just review?
I don't quite understand, but I think if it's an email that shouldn't be sent, it won't get blocked. If it's content that's alarming or threatening, that won't go through as well.
Right.
If there's a document, so the email communication can be stopped.
Okay.
If you create a Google Doc, it's already created, so it can't stop. So if I write something really bad, highlighting some things that would be bad, the student actually wouldn't get a notification. The notification would go to our school resource officer, our counselor, because we don't want the student to know that they've seen it, so that they can interrupt or intercept more with more tact and maybe speak to the student and not incite the situation.
Yeah, and that was my question: does it prevent it from going so that the readers have an opportunity to go through and read? And then if there's still a question, then as you mentioned, it's the alerts that are that are being set up for points of contact, being the building principals. All of those pieces will be able to be reviewed prior to any type of an electronic communication going forward, right?
Correct. So the email will get stopped. The live reader will read it. The live reader actually then hits send on their side of it.
Great. And then in addition to that, are we also, you mentioned building principals?
Mhm.
Do we have backups for them as well that will also be there? We know that building principals are not always in the office.
No, I understand that. So I'm in the process of creating an org chart of if there's an issue at Woodland, go to Tim or counselor, and if they're not available, we'll just go down the pecking order. I'm on every single one. I get every email that goes through. I have a mail rule, so it goes into a folder, so I don't have to see it right away.
I want to make sure. I just wanted to make sure that we have that follow up as well. Just
No,
we do want the principals to be able to go on vacation and be able to put this stuff away.
Absolutely,
So,
but I'm
make
also
sure we have a backup.
No, but I'm so proud of the work that we're doing and moving forward. This has to be in place because this would be a pushback if there was an issue. And I also want our community to feel safe, that their students and children are coming into school to a safe environment.
Any other?
Real quick question, price tag, are this annual licenses or?
Yes.
Something you do every year?
Yep, but it was worked into the budget that I came forward with you. It won't need any.
I kind of remember, that's why I was asking about it.
Yep, so it was part of one of the slides, way back in November, in anticipation. Gaggle's new, but we budgeted for that for this year and then moving forward.
Thank you.
So last couple pieces were really to acknowledge that we are moving forward with our digital learning environment. Students in grades 6 through 9 are getting Chromebooks at the beginning of the year. And just wanted to share with you some things that we're doing in the process. So we're meeting with families next Tuesday night, and just to give you a little feel of what we're talking about. So slide 5, we're going to be sharing kind of what the expectation is if students take the Chromebooks home, because that's our hope, is that every single one goes home. That from grades 6 through 9, not in grades 3 through 5. And really talk to them what that means. So the meeting next week is the current 5th through 8th grade families. Hopefully everyone will show up. And really talk about what the expectations are, what can happen when they go home. And the page before, the safety tools don't stop when the Chromebooks leave the buildings, because they're in our domain. So those are all happening even at home. I'm going to be sharing some documents, and I brought those, or we made copies for you tonight. So we've been working on a few different documents that I'd love your feedback on if you have a chance to read them. Not tonight, but one of them, the first one is really a Chromebook care and use policy guide. This is going to be given to families. Everything is in draft form at this point because it's moving at such a rapid pace, and I want more eyes on that. I'm also meeting with our building administration to get some feedback as well, but really going through what the expectations are, what will happen if when you receive the Chromebook, taking care of the Chromebook, carrying. So it really goes through the how-tos, a manual hopefully for our families, because this is an investment from our community, and we want to make sure that it's taken care of and is long-lasting for our students and their learning tools. And I can tell just in a small set of data, and I don't have the specific numbers, I'm just thinking about it, to bring it up, is our Woodland breakage and our damage has been very, very low. Where at Stacy, it's been higher because they're mobile. They're not individualized. And I believe when they have their own, you're going to see it go down, because the Woodland data set is very low for damage. So a second document you'll see is family and student responsibilities, how to store the Chromebooks, how they should be taken care of. And I also wanted to put accountability on both students and adults, because this is part of what we're working on for digital citizenship, and having these responsibilities, agree with it or not, of where our society is going. This is a reality, that students are having devices, phones, computers, iPads, whatever. And our job as educators is to educate them how to use them. So this one is more of just saying this is the expectations and going forward. I'm going to skip to the last one because that's kind of fairly easy. This is a whole question and answer. These are all the things I think people may want to know, and these are the questions, and these are the answers. So feel free to look through that one. And the last one is about optional warranty. So for students to be able to take the Chromebooks home, one of two things has to happen. There's an option to buy additional warranty if accidental damage happens to the Chromebook, and that would be a cost of $25 per family for 4 years, and it would cover everything except for theft, or if the student deliberately did something to the Chromebook, and that would cover it, and that would allow the families to have the Chromebook go home. The second piece is that if they feel that they have a responsible child and they didn't want to enter into the optional warranty, they have an opportunity to waive that, and they would sign that they are waiving that as a right, but they want their child to have it to go home. The difference there is if there was damage, families would be responsible for either the cost of the whole Chromebook or parts of it, and I listed some of the things on there. And the last is that families don't want either of those options, and we're working on spaces to have the Chromebooks secure and locked and checked in and out at both Stacy and for our 9th grade here today. So obviously that's a lot to take in. I don't expect you to have just read it and now give me feedback, but I wanted you to have that information and let you know these are some of the discussions we're going to be having with families. Next Tuesday, they will not walk away with the documents because I want feedback from them as well. This is not a singular view or vision of this. I want people, this is important for me, for all of us to be a part of it, because this is our initiative. So, but this is a preview of what we're going to go over on Thursday and Tuesday. So if you look on page 6, this is what will be happening this summer. We're looking to order the devices very soon. The delivery, I've talked to the vendors mid-July. We have student tech team and Mr. Nelson will be working on those, and we're going to enroll them into our domain, and they'll be ready to go for, my hope is that we're going to be starting the 21st of August. And the reason for that is my expectation is by October 3rd that everyone has them, but I also know we can't do this in one day. If families want to start that first day, we're going to have multiple opportunities to come in if they want to sign the documents, take them home, and move forward from there. But this is kind of like a timeline of what we're looking, the schedule that I put forward for our team, and just some additional notes. We're having the family meeting next Tuesday. It's going to be recorded as well. Milford TV is going to be joining us, and so that we can show that if families can't come. And there'll be some more summer meetings as well, not just the 13th. The bottom of that is just how we're going to hand them out, and as Tim said with the handbook, this could be tweaked as we move on and on because we've never done it. And this is the goal at this point, but it could change if we find a better way, or the first day and it's like this is terrible. Let's try something different. So this is a moving target in the sense that this is what we believe from the research is how to do it. If we need to shift it, we would do that in the best interest of the students and staff. And then the last page is this is where we're going. Those are some of the questions on that document I handed out. And it's an exciting time to be a student and staff member here in Milford, and I thank you for, from a year ago saying, having that belief and faith that we can get there, and we really are moving. And we always say we're here for the best interest of our students, and that's what this is. This is for our students to have that authentic learning opportunity with the tools that will help them achieve that goal.
Any questions or comments?
Joe?
Mike?
I'd just like to say thank you to you. I know this year, not from an educational standpoint, from a political standpoint, you had a couple of very interesting meetings, and you stayed the course, and you did a great job, and you took us where, you delivered everything you said you were going to deliver. So I know you have the educational side, but you also got dragged into the political side of it, and I was at a lot of those meetings, and I just want to say thank you. I thought you did a very professional job.
Thanks.
Scott?
So thank you again for the presentation and really, a lot of information, which is great for us to digest. A couple quick questions I just had for you. Just understanding the logistics a little bit. I know
Sure.
some of the questions that you may have already received. So with regards to the Chromebook distribution, you talked about the fact that the students will be, they'll be being issued them between August 21st and hope to have it concluded by September 29th. Just sort of getting into the nuts and bolts of it, are we going by grade level? Are we going by, how are we sort of determining who's going? Is it going to be, we're going to do all the 6th grade first, we're going to do all the 7th grade next, we're going to do all the 8th grade after that? How are we doing that?
No, actually, I'm hoping that with the first day, we say, if you would like to come and either sign the warranty or waive it, families could have them the first day. And I want to staff that appropriately if we get an overabundance or have a long period of time on that day. If it's really inefficient that day, we may change it, but I don't think we're going to get 900 people that day if we do at the same time. But it would be a full day. You know, the tech team and I would sit at Stacy and say, come to the library today between 8 and 3, and if either one of the 3 options, what they couldn't do is waive both of them and still get to take it home, because that's not an option. And then have multiple days that week of August, and then have before and after school times in September. And then regardless of what path families take, all students will receive them on that Monday, October 3rd, because every student's going to get them in our district from 6 to 9.
And then thank you for that. Then the follow-up questions to that would be, and this really may be for Kevin as well, which is, so it's August 22nd. I got my one-to-one device on August 21st on the first day. I'm really excited to go ahead and use it as a student. When do we start to use those? So if I'm a student got mine on
Who's the we in that state?
So we, being the school system, start to implement and encourage and start to implement the usage of that device with the student that got it on August 21st, as compared to there's going to be some students that aren't going to have them until October 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
Is this a expensive paperweight from August 1st until October 3rd? Is it that we're creating differentiated learning within the classroom where there's some kids that have it and some students that don't? How are we going to manage through that?
So my thought process in that is that'll be a trial period to try out calendaring, to try out the email, to try out some of the tools that they have at a very low risk opportunity. If teachers giving notes and some students have it, they can start taking some digital notes and trying it out. And my actual hope for that is for the students who have them is say, how's it working, and get almost like a pilot group, what's working, what's not. Because if families go on one of the 2 tracks of either purchasing the insurance or waiving it, I want their students to have that opportunity as soon as they have it. This information was shared with Stacy's staff. I went to their staff meeting, spoke to all of them, so this isn't news to them, and got feedback from them at that point. And Steve Weber went to the staff meeting at the high school and shared, all of this is shared. This isn't the first time, if they're watching, because I know everybody, all the staff is watching, because I asked them to. It's not the first time they've heard it, so I want students to use it. At Stacy, we have 14 carts now, and teachers using it a lot as we speak.
Yeah. And then just the last piece is with regards to the home warranty options.
Yep.
Are we, as a district, so I think about our students that are currently receiving either economically disadvantaged, so students that are on some sort of assistance programs, whether it's free or reduced lunch or others, that doesn't seem to be spelled out in this proposal, that we're going to effectively supplement and cover that warranty charge for them. If a student chooses not to enroll in it because they don't feel that they need to, or a parent chooses not to because they don't feel they want to or they don't need to, that's one thing, versus I'm not enrolling it because I can't afford it.
Yeah, I would say we approach this like we would any other item that we provide students, whether it's a textbook, whether it's, pick the product we offer K through 12. We're obviously going to work with every family based on, not only their financial needs, but individual circumstances, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess my ask would be is that we may want to think about for some of these things, especially whereas this is new, this is something that's a very specific, deliberate upfront cost. So for instance, textbooks, it's more in the rears. If you lose the book, well, I'm economically not able to afford to replace it, it's on the back end, versus this is an upfront, we're asking for $25 a year, and it's a cost that goes along with that. We have provisions that are built in, for example, for athletic fees, for things that are sort of the pay-to-play, if you will. I would encourage that this may be something that we want to look at as a district and saying, students that and families that fall into that economically disadvantaged, if we want to use as an example the free or reduced lunch component and incorporate that within this policy, I think that's something that, in my personal opinion, and obviously it's the pleasure of the overall committee, we should really look at adopting as well. I think we're a large enough community that does a great job of taking care of those on every level of spectrum. I think this is something that it's a cost that if we're able to possibly look at the economic impacts of that, that we could
No, and that's definitely something we have looked into, and this is happening at such a rapid pace, to have something in place for tonight's meeting from 2 weeks ago, essentially having it funded. But it has been looked at. I visited in this short time 4 different districts who have a one-to-one implementation in their district and tried to mesh all of it that they have in place and to make it work for us. And that has been looked at, and it's not lost on us. We just don't have something currently to make it happen to share with you tonight.
Yeah, no, I'm just asking, like, for specifically as it relates to the warranty as an example.
And we
I'm
definitely-
very cognizant of that. I want to make sure that we're.
And we
we're
definitely don't
not-
want that to be a barrier for
Yeah.
a family that otherwise would take it home because they're worried about covering the cost.
Correct.
So
And
we
then
do wanna
there
address
may be that embarrassment factor as well, where they
Yep.
may not feel comfortable with raising their hand on that.
Yep.
So if we can adopt something that sort of alleviates some of that stress and concern, some of these individuals may be stressed and concerned enough.
Yep, that's a great point.
Yeah, along those lines, obviously, we just got this information, so it's a lot to digest. So I'm sure we're going to have additional feedback regarding what you handed out. There are a number of policy implications with this rollout, and we only have a few meetings over the summer. It's already the middle of June before we start rolling this out. So we need to be very clear on what needs to happen before the effective date, and make sure that we incorporate that into our meetings so that we have everything in place by August.
I just wanted to comment, I think, to your points, there are a lot of logistics to work out, but I think the work that's taken place over the course of this year has been absolutely extraordinary. And looking at where we were a year ago and looking back when I joined the committee 3 years ago, those things that we're mentioning, how fortunate are we that we're looking at Chromebooks from grades 3 through 9, and to reiterate Mike's point, part of how we've gotten here is your confidence, your knowledge, your ability to sell the rationale, the educational rationale for why we're doing this. And we know you're out there, we know you're in the schools, because it's all over. It's all over the website, it's all over everywhere. Your fingerprint is on so many pieces that are so valuable to students and staff, so thank you. You've done a great job.
It's been a great year.
Dan, you touched on it. We're treading new ground here, right? So, there are going to be bumps in the road as we go, and we'll learn from them. We'll make adjustments, and we'll continue to move forward. But we're in a good spot right now. So, thank you. All right, I think that's it.
Thank you.
All right, Kevin, you're up next. Superintendent end of cycle
I think it's all
report.
the tech subcommittee. I think their vision.
That's right, I spearheaded
That's why I
this whole
did
thing. I didn't get a pat on the back.
We're calling this the Joe Gallery Chromebook initiative.
No recognition again.
Jeez. All right, so I just wanted to give a quick update. I'm going to try to be as brief as possible. I just want to go through highlighted accomplishments for 16-17, a quick review of the goals, and I want to share the feedback document and rubric. And before Matt leaves, I'm going to have him share the documents so the committee members can put feedback directly into it, if that works, Joe.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's perfect.
Excellent. So I just want to go through the accomplishments.
And just to clarify, you're asking for feedback on the document, not the evaluation.
It would be like no, on the actual evaluation for the superintendent, I think, going forward. So I'm going to share that document out so people
The
have access to it.
evaluation document?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
okay.
yes,
I thought you were,
yes.
okay.
No. I have no interest in your feedback on this.
You're going to get a lot of feedback.
I'm telling you, for 2 months, I can't wait to write yours up.
Bring those pitchforks on, baby. So really quickly, and these accomplishments are definitely not my accomplishments alone. Like I said earlier tonight, it's really a complete team effort, and I feel like everybody. One of the things that I've really appreciated this year is that the faculty, the administration are all pulling in the same direction, which I think is awesome. And I just want to kind of go through them quickly. We successfully opened the new Woodland Elementary School, and that was a huge undertaking that involved multiple committees and a lot of people kind of working together. And like I said earlier too, Tim's office was here at about this time last year, and now we're at the end of year 1 of a beautiful, brand new state-of-the-art building where technology is being implemented on a daily basis to engage students. Due to the restructure of the middle school math curriculum, the percentage of students enrolled in algebra in 8th grade increased last year from an average of, between the last 3 years actually, from an average of 20 to 25% to 52% in just 1 year, and we hope that number will go up even further next year. We executed a marketing and communication plan to share the incredible academic and extracurricular offerings of the Milford Public Schools to the community, and we're seeing a decrease in the number of students that are choosing to school choice out and an increase in our retention across the board. We successfully transitioned 4 grades and faculties to either the New Woodland Elementary School or Stacy Middle School. We offered 4 early college dual enrollment courses for Milford High School students, and a 5th is currently being offered right now during the first summer session that a number of students are taking on-site at Milford High School on Monday evenings. We conducted a successful search and hiring process for an assistant superintendent for curriculum and instruction, a director of technology, a special education director, an assistant special education director, a preschool director, the Woodland Elementary principal, and most recently our Milford High School principal.
You missed one.
What did I forget?
Additional assistant superintendent at Woodland as well.
Oh, assistant principal. Yeah, correct. That's correct. Implementation of a wireless network pre-K through 12 that will open in the 2017-18 school year. The last phase of that project being the high school and Brookside Elementary School, which will take place this summer, and then we'll be we'll have a completely Class A wireless network across the district. The district will effectively be a 1-to-1 environment in grades 3 through 9 at the start of school in August, and by the following year will be 1-to-1 3 through 12. And this is a big one that I don't think gets a lot of publicity, but we're in the process of preparing for the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education Coordinated Program Review for English learners, special education, and civil rights. And I really want to commend our English learner department and Jen Norjanian and her team, Lucy Jenkins and her team, and Melissa Bullock for pulling this information together and getting it up. And if anybody's experienced a coordinated program review, it's a very comprehensive, intense process that requires a ton of preparation, and we'll be going through the process next year, and I'm sure the good folks at the DESE will be calling on a few of our school committee members to provide some feedback on a number of the questions. So you have that to look forward to in the 2017-18 school year. We've launched the Social Emotional Learning Committee, and we're really starting to implement practices across the board. That team is running, I think, very well, and I think we're making a lot of headway in that area. The Milford High School received the full accreditation by NEASC. That's good news for Josh. You get about a 10-year break on that one, baby.
Yeah, but he might have to build a new school.
That's a whole baby steps, Joe. Baby steps. And then finally, implementation of interventions at Milford High School for both ELA and Math MCAS. These include Writing with Colors, the March Madness program, remedial and review courses, as well as a number of tutoring initiatives that have taken place this year that we hope will have an impact on both growth and achievement at the high school. I'm going to just really try to go quickly through the goals because I know goal 1 is the development of a district strategic plan. Really the next phase of that is we've got the 5 areas, which I'm going to highlight quickly. In all of the school improvement plans, all of their initiatives fell into one of these big areas. As a leadership team this summer when we go on our retreat, which started at 2 days, but I think we're going to be like more like 10 days, is we're gonna hit the strategic plan and really lay it out for the next 3 years. And we'll be able to share that probably, I'm hoping to share the full plan sometime in September with the committee, either the first or second meeting. The 4 big areas are, and I said 5, but it's actually 4, is social emotional learning, and we've talked about that a little bit this year. I know Lucy's presented on it. I think we're doing some exciting things next year. Continuous learning, which involves rethinking professional development and providing additional structures and opportunities for collaboration across the district and to really push the learning that's happening in the classroom. Growth-focused instruction, learning, and assessment. The big item there is the development of curriculum maps. We're setting a goal of January of 18 to start to be able to publish some of these out. Equity and access, and two of the plans today, you've heard kind of all aspects of this built into what the principals and directors are promoting. Goal 2 is the long-range education plan, and really the next phase of that. We had several meetings with the team this year, and I think it was very productive. We're going to be contracting with NESDEC to do a facilities plan. I believe
great.
beginning in the fall of 2017 is the goal, is the next step of that process. Goal 3 is the curriculum and program expansion. I'm not going to spend any time on this one. I'm just going to kind of allow the committee to read this one, but there's a number of exciting things going on, including the early college, high school. We're looking at additional potential programs at the high school level, as well as the kickoff of the banking and business program next year. Goal 4. Goal 4 is the transition to New Woodland and 8th grade to Stacy. I think that process went very well this year. There continues to be adaptive work in terms of connecting curriculums and faculties and cultures at both Woodland and at Stacy, and that work's going to be ongoing next year. Goal 5 is educator evaluation, and I want to give Dr. Joseph a lot of credit for this one. He developed a full Google platform that we piloted across the district, and they fully implemented it at the high school level. And we're going to be going to full Google implementation next year. The feedback from the faculty as well as the administrators has been overwhelmingly positive in terms of ease of use. And people are becoming more and more comfortable with it. We'll be providing additional training to both administrators and the faculty members who were not part of the pilot this past year. The marketing and communications program will be continuing. We're scheduling an end of the year meeting in June to review the past year and then plan for events in 2017-18. I really want to highlight the work of the high school faculty as well as the middle school faculty in doing an unbelievable amount of outreach that went from large presentations to individual conversations with students and families about the great things that are happening in the Milford Public Schools. And I want to really thank Jim and Joe for, not Joe Calloway, for highlighting and taking the lead on this program.
I'll give it to him. You know he writes your evaluation.
You know I always bite the hand that feeds me, Scott. You should know that by now. Social emotional learning, again, I talked about. I'm not going to dwell on that, but you know, Lucy did a great job and her team of writing a grant in excess of $100,000 that we'll be using for professional development and rolling out Second Step and a number of other programs across the district next year. And finally, the leadership team. And you know, I think we had a great year from a leadership team perspective. Mike talked about this earlier. We had a lot of changes on the leadership team. You know, I think we really brought in a lot of fantastic people who were really committed to kind of making the Milford Public Schools the best possible public school system. We've got a retreat in July on, I think it's either the 10th and 11th or 11th and 12th. I don't have the dates here. What I like to do over the summer is I like to lay out all the meetings for the entire year for all the groups that I'm a part of. It does shift. It's a moving target, but at least it sets kind of the stage of, you know, when the meetings are going to take place, or we can kind of plan around it. On another note, I know principals are trying to be more cognizant of not scheduling events on school committee nights, and they're putting that out to all the groups that have events. So hopefully we do a better job at that as well next year. So that's kind of the quick and dirty version of highlights of the year and the goals.
Okay. Any questions on the document that Kevin just reviewed?
Just a quick comment. Just, you know, one of the blessings that you can get as a leader is having the ability to build your own team. Most superintendents, that takes an entire career.
Mm-hmm.
You get the good fortune of being able to do almost all of it in the first 12 months. So you've built your team, and again, if not obviously having participated in every single interview that you've done with all the different candidates, certainly going through the high school one, I know the rigor that you put around all of those processes, and having met, you know, each of the folks that you've hired, you've really done an amazing job. I'm very excited and have a very exciting outlook for the direction that the schools are going to go. And you know, you've had a lot on your plate this year. You inherited an established school district that was moving in a positive direction, and then you had to almost immediately replace your entire leadership team while being new at the same time. So, you know, congratulations. You've had a busy, big year for year one. Can't wait to see what year 2 looks like.
We're going to keep rolling, baby.
That's
Thank
good.
you.
Love it.
Appreciate it.
All right. So as far as a timeline, it sounds like Matt's going to send out the Google.
Correct. Probably. Yeah. You sound like Craig now.
The Google, yeah. So if we could complete that evaluation by, I'd say the end of July, so we'll have about 6 weeks to complete the evaluation, and we'll try and conduct the evaluation the first meeting in August. That's my timeline. And within that Google document, are you able to put supporting documentation on the evidence and the prior
That's what I wanted
goals?
to ask, because one thing I don't want to do is overwhelm people with just tons of evidence. And I'm wondering if I can probably put like some examples in each area, maybe like 3 to 5.
That'd be
If people feel like they need more information, I can do that. And just send me an email and say, because I just don't want to overwhelm you with, I don't want to say the word junk is the wrong word, but I just don't want to put a lot of stuff in there that's just gonna kind of dilute. It's just, I don't want it to be overwhelming, basically.
Well,
If that's helpful.
Even this is so helpful. You know, the documents that we've been given in the past using the DESI form, they're not user-friendly at all. Even just to look at something like this with some bullets to say, yeah, this is what's been accomplished, this is what's coming. I think that's really helpful.
And I may, if it works for the committee, is develop one more maybe PowerPoint-y kind of document, because I know you guys know I love PowerPoints. And just
You're a
put, like,
master at 'em,
I appreciate that, Mike. And just put like maybe in each of the 4 categories, maybe like 10 bullets, and then if people want backup, I can give you backup.
Yeah.
Just to simplify it. Okay.
Is everyone comfortable with that? So end of July, and
Yep.
then we'll do the evaluation the first meeting in August. Okay. All right, next agenda item is subcommittee updates at wellness. Who's covering wellness?
There was a meeting, but unfortunately Mike and I did not attend it.
All right, so no updates for
So
wellness.
I can get the minutes from.
It's not well.
That must have been a pretty quiet meeting, given the 2 people that are running it over there.
He had things going on.
Yeah.
I couldn't for work reasons.
Well,
I can give one update. I actually want to, and I meant to do this in the announcements, but my computer wasn't kind of, computer wasn't well.
You know how to turn it on, though, right?
I did. It's the simple things that I struggle with.
Wasn't plugged in though.
But I want to thank Paul Mazzucchelli and the Board of Health, because they provided some financial resources to support our wellness nurse, Lisa White, who's done amazing work this year in the district and was working on a grant this year. And we've kind of leveraged a few different sources, but I really want to, thank Paul Mazzucchelli, the Board of Health, and his team for supporting that initiative. It's critical. Aside from that, there was a number of updates. I mentioned screenagers, which was a big point of discussion. And we spent a lot of time on social emotional learning as well, which I think we've touched on. But, I think that group is doing a lot of great things across the district. We're seeing a lot of programming. Josh is actually going to connect with them a few times, because they're trying to do more work with the athletic teams across the board on dating violence, as well as opioids and drug issues. And so we're going to continue those programs, as well as support for the Leadership Academy that Pete Boucher and his crowd run prior to the beginning of the school year, where we bring all of the captains and all of the leaders of groups across the school together for a couple days of, I think it's 3 days of great leadership programming, to the point where Peter's been asked to present this at the state level. And a shoe company actually brought him up to do the presentation as well. So it's something that we're becoming a model of how to run this type of programming across the state, and I think it's getting some national, it's being picked up nationally a little bit as well. So those are kind of the 3 big pieces from the wellness committee.
Thank you. Budget subcommittee, John, do you want to?
Yeah, thank you. Scott and I met with the administration this past Tuesday, 2 days ago, and the conversation focused on making sure that we're spending in accordance with, as a committee, with Mass General Law and the approved policies that we have in place, with respect mostly to contracted positions and non-union hourly and salaried positions. We had some questions and discussion as to whether we are following the proper procedures and whether or not we have the proper procedures in place for all circumstances. With that, some questions will probably be brought forward to the policy subcommittee for review. There may also be some slight changes on the administration level as to, how the operations proceed. All in all, no serious issues, but where approval of spending is, one of our primary focuses, I just want to ensure that, everything is being done in the proper manner.
Okay. Any questions? And Jen, update on policy?
Yes, so we met tonight, right before this meeting, and we discussed two policies. One is really in line with the things that Matt Joseph talked about tonight in terms of responsible use for technology, with the addition of a lot more hardware and all of the things that we just kind of referenced in the last presentation that go along with that. How do we use it? How do we make sure things are safe and filters, et cetera. So we have a responsible use guideline document that Matt is going back and making a few more revisions to that he'll bring back to us for another go with that. So we make sure we have it right before the school year begins. We also talked about the religious observance policy, and clearly we have a lot of interest in this topic, including people who came and really showed courage tonight coming before a group. I know it was a daunting task for some, but I know we appreciate people coming and expressing themselves. So I think just as with the technology, we want to get this policy right. We have some stakeholders who have indicated that they want to give us some feedback, parents, staff, community. So we'll be taking some time and finding some forums and some means of gathering more information. And we will be kind of revisiting that as we approach the beginning of the new school year. I don't know if either anyone else who was there wants to add anything to that. Feel free.
No, I think you summarized it perfectly. All right, any questions about the policy? Great. And so next agenda item is future, I'm sorry. Next order of business is future agenda items. Does anyone have any future agenda items? No future agenda items? All right, next order of business is old business. Anyone have any old business? No old business?
Joe, if I could just real
Yeah.
quick, and I apologize, Artie Siepler, a former teacher at Milford High School, brought these to me probably a year ago. And he felt that the class of 1987 that dedicated the stone at the top of Highland Street never really got the credit, you know, that they deserved. Thank you from the school committee and from the administration. If anybody, I can pass these around. He doesn't even remember who the students were, but he wanted the school committee to know about it, and a special thank you go out to the class of 1987 that dedicated the stone up at the top of Island Street.
That's great.
So, I don't know what year. Jim just told me he graduated in '88. Makes me really feel old, but that's all right. But I don't know if you guys from Milford recognize it when you came out of school, but, you know.
That's great.
I could probably
Thanks,
get a
Mike.
hold of an '87 yearbook. Maybe do a little research, see if I can find it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'd like to see if we could just try and put names to them.
Might be something to work with our alumni office on.
Who?
Our alumni group?
Yeah.
Be something we
Yeah,
can
that'd be
have
good
them
too,
step
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
Put it on Facebook, you'll get the names in 5 minutes. Just take a quick picture and post it up.
That's a
there.
great
idea.
That's a great idea, yeah.
Well, my cousin Melanie Macklow is
Oh.
class of '87, so I could
Sure.
show this to her
Absolutely.
and see if she
Yep.
could identify.
Thank you.
And thank you to Mr. Siepler. Jeez.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, thank you, Mr. C.
Yeah.
All right, so we do have an executive session tonight, right? Jerry's
Yes.
coming in? Okay. So we do have executive session tonight to discuss the AFSCME contract negotiations. We will not return to regular session. This does require a roll call vote. Jim?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes?
Yes.
Alright, so we'll be entering into executive session, and do I have a motion to adjourn? Motion from Scott, seconded by John. All in favor? All right, thank you, everyone.